Ruth here from the Teaching Entrepreneur Association, and this week's workshop is all about what it takes to make a great teacher. So what does it take to make a great teacher? Well, there's loads and loads and loads of things, including being a good communicator, being creative, being committed, having a willingness to learn yourself, being passionate not only about your specialist subject, but also about teaching and learning. And of course, it goes without saying, have a good sense of humour. There's a workbook that goes with this workshop, so click on the link to download it. So, as I've said, there are loads and loads and loads of things, and I've only just explained a few of them, just touched on the tip of the iceberg, if you like. So I wanted to share with you a few others. So, 1, how do your students learn best? 2, planning. 3, activities that wow. 4, embedding equality and diversity. And 5, flexibility. So, top of my list is, how do your students learn best? So what does that mean? If you know how your students learn best, you can teach them in those ways. A win-win situation. For example, in my IT class, I had a retired pilot, an air hostess, and 2 people who were so into travelling. They loved to travel. So I created a whole project around this, and the students absolutely loved it. In a maths class where I was teaching areas, perimeters, and volumes, I had a student who just didn't get what I was teaching. I knew that he was having a swimming pool built in his garden, so I used that to teach the topic, and he got it just like that. Spend time getting to know your students. The more you know about them, the better you can teach them. When you're doing an initial assessment, add in questions that you feel will help you teach them, like their interest. Also, as you go through the course and you get to know your students more and more, make a little note of things that they tell you or that you hear in conversations, as this will all help you in your planning. Second on my list, of course, is planning. Planning. You can never do enough planning. But having lots of information about your students, you can set projects, activities, and resources around this. Having a good plan means that everything will go smoothly. By having lots of information about your students, you can set projects, activities, and resources all around that. Having a good plan means that everything should go smoothly. You know what's going to be taught in what order, how it will be taught, and how the students are going to learn and be assessed. You know which resources you need. Having said everything will go smoothly, it doesn't always, as we know. But if you plan for contingencies, it will go better than if you hadn't, because you will be reassured. Your confidence will be raised, and also you will raise the confidence of students in you because you act that way. I observed a new teacher recently. She was very, very nervous, bless her. She planned some more, and she knew exactly what she was going to be doing. After starting off speaking very, very fast, she got more and more confident as the session went on. You see, because of the planning, she knew what she was doing, and her students trusted her. The third point is to create, as I like to call them, Eureka Moments or wow activities with your students. So these can be inspirational and really push them through to progress and achieve. So what do I mean by a wow moment? I mean where your students really, really get something, or they really enjoy an activity that you're giving them, where they love what and how you're teaching them. Now, this doesn't have to mean in every lesson, but enough to make them keep coming back to you for more. Think about the moments when you were taught and what made them wow for you. How can you make a boring lesson or subject exciting? What resources can you use? In my maths lesson, I was teaching fractions, and I brought in a Terry's chocolate orange, you know, the one that you crack and all the bits split out. And I used it every time, though. Someone got something right or my back was turned, the segments were taken out and they were eaten. In a maths class where we were learning about ratios, I asked students to make mocktails and brought in a whole range of soft drinks. It's about thinking outside the box. Another class I taught was all about legislation, and it was quite a boring subject. So I decided I'd buy some wigs and gowns, and I gave a gavel, and then I set up the classroom as a courtroom, and the students had to argue their point to the judge. This really cemented their understanding, and the judge, who was one of the students, spent time really understanding the legislation point that we were making, so ready to make the decisions. So the next one is equality and diversity. Equality and diversity, in many sessions that I've observed, seems to be either like a bolt-on to the end of a course, or is something that just has to be done. It's such a shame, as when you understand what equality and diversity is, and how to embed them naturally into your teaching, it brings the whole world into your classroom. So we know that equality means that no one's allowed to discriminate against any of the 9 protected characteristics that are in the Equalities Act 2010. But what does diversity mean? Diversity is the embracing and the valuing of those 9 characteristics. So let's think about it for a moment. If we didn't embrace the culture of different groups and stuck purely to British, we wouldn't have Chinese food or curries or pizzas or burritos, for example. But how does this embed diversity? Well, think about what you teach. How do people do this in other countries? For example, imagine you teach photography and you're doing, say, a topic about weddings. You could show pictures of Indian weddings, or ask people to bring in photos of their own wedding, or perhaps videos and pictures of same-sex weddings. All these ideas embed equality and diversity. So my 5th way is flexibility. We've got to be so flexible. The more flexible you can be in teaching, the better your students will learn. For example, you don't have to stick rigidly to your lesson plan. I know I've said planning, and, and more planning, and I do stick by that. However, if things change when you get into a lesson, remember your lesson plan is exactly that. It's just a plan. It's not written in stone, and sometimes we have to go off piece to support our students. It may be that something you're teaching, they're just not getting, so you need to spend more time on it. It may be that a discussion takes place that's really important and valuable. It may be that students are really enjoying what you're teaching them and have taken up your challenges. I think as long as what you're doing links back to the aim and the learning outcomes of the course, then you should be flexible. Another area of flexibility is how students learn. If you're teaching a topic, be flexible on how the students access that information by giving them options. They may like to watch a video about it, or have a discussion, or perhaps they want to sit and read notes on it. Doesn't matter how they learn it, as long as they do. I hope you found this useful. As I said, there's a link to the workbook, so click on it to download it, and I'll see you next week in another tea workshop. If you want more information on what tea does, go on over to our website at teateaching.com. That's TTEA teaching.com. Or join our Facebook group, Tea Teaching 1.